Welcome to Coyote's Corner. This episode, we'll be listening to Pat Spalding tell a true tale. Just see what comes up.
Just see what comes up, my therapist told me. But my life isn't going anywhere. I just keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over without making forward progress. So, what is forward progress to you? She asked. What makes you think you're not on the right path? Just be where you are. Don't worry so much. I know, my life is good, but I expected it to be better. I expected to have kids at some point. Well, that didn't happen. I expected to stay married. Yeah, that didn't happen. And at this stage of my life, well, I expected to be settled and at home with myself and with the people I love around me. Can't you give me some tangible homework? Something I can do to break out of this circular rut I feel like I'm stuck in? Oh, she sighed. I don't think you're stuck. I don't think you need to do anything to change your life. I think you need to do less. Relax. Sit with things. Just see what comes up. Memorial Day weekend was coming up. She suggested that I go to the family cemetery plots, bring flowers, spend time, remember the people I love, just be there to see what comes up. So I made a plan to visit the Spalding graves of my grandparents, Ada Nutt Brown and Louis Lovejoy, my parents, Dorothy May and Donald Hugh, and my brother Dean Harris Spalding. But Memorial Day was 2 weeks away, and this weekend I was babysitting Sammy, my 3-year-old sort of grandson. Yeah, I'd skipped having kids of my own, but then Sammy showed up. He was born at just the right time, to just the right relatives, to let me become his surrogate grandmother, his Pat-Pat. Sammy wanted to go to the beach. It was an overcast, chilly day, but he wanted to go, and at 3 years old, he ran the show, so off we went to the beach. We tucked ourselves into a protected corner out of the wind and rain. It was misty by the rocks at the top of the beach, unpacked all our plastic Walmart gear, pails, shovels, molds, sieves, and we commenced to dig. We had to dig deep to get to sand wet enough to pack into our crab-shaped molds to make 1 crab cake, 2 crab cakes, 3 smash, smash, smash. Sammy stomped them into oblivion. I tried with fish cakes. 1 fish cake, 2 fish cakes, 3 smash, smash, smack down. 3 was the magic number. My counting game never got us beyond the number 3. Sammy enjoyed this process of destruction, but frankly, I was getting bored. A cold mist was blowing in. Are you ready to go home? I asked hopefully. No, he wasn't ready. Okay. So, while digging and packing sand into molds, I let my mind wander until it landed on a particular childhood memory. I was about Sammy's age, maybe a year older, on a long car trip with my family. Dean would have been an infant. He must have been in the car, but I don't remember him. I only remember stopping at an outdoor picnic area for a pee break. I needed to get the wiggles out. There was a sandy beach on the edge of the woods next to the lake. My parents told me I could run around, do whatever I wanted to do for about 15 minutes. I wanted to dig a hole in the sand. But in the car, we couldn't find a shovel, a spoon, no plastic paper or tin cup, nothing to dig with. So use a stick, said Dad. As unsatisfactory a solution as that was, I found a stick and started to dig. Sand kept falling back into the hole. It was a tedious process. I really wished hard that I had a shovel or a spoon or some real digging tool. Now, at this time in my life, I was trying hard to figure out what God expected of me. You know, how good I was supposed to be, how much I was supposed to pray in order to get into heaven, things like that. Being good would be rewarded, hopefully immediately, but for sure later in heaven. Praying, I figured, was wishing, only more serious and religious. Praying was like rubbing Aladdin's lamp, and God was the genie, only he wore a long white beard instead of a turban, and instead of granting 3 wishes, God answered the prayers of good little girls like me. It all made sense. My prayers back then also made sense. Basically, they went like this. Dear God, please take care of everybody I love. Let everything good in my life stay good, and make everything that could get better. Amen. I must have been digging with that stick, wishing and praying for something better, for about 5 minutes, when the stick hit something hard. I wiped away the sand to find a shiny metal spoon. My prayer had been answered. God had rewarded me for being a good little girl. This is the way the world worked. Dig, pray, be good, and eureka, a spoon. This was the best revelation of my childhood. It felt like a small miracle. So today, I was packing sand into fish cakes and crab cakes and shell cakes when smash, 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 Sammy destroyed them. I was getting bored. Sammy, are you ready to go home yet? No, he was still not ready. My shovel struck something hard. I forget it was one of our Walmart toys that had gotten buried. But when I dug around it, I pulled out the Neiman Marcus of all toy shovels. A sturdy wooden handle was securely anchored to a thick green plastic spade. Wow! Sammy, look what I found! Buried treasure! It felt like I'd conjured this shovel from that pea break in the picnic area 60 years ago. Look, Sammy, look, watch this! I demonstrated how great it worked. Want to try it? He took the shovel, dug around a little, then, unimpressed, he dropped it and picked up his own shovel again. Well, finders, keepers, this shovel is mine. No longer bored, I dug fast and deep, with the coolest shovel that I had ever seen. Then I noticed the name written on the bottom of the handle. I flipped it over to read D-E-A-N. Dean. My brother's name. The waves rolled in. The ocean pulled away. I listened to my own breathing and to Sammy digging in the sand. Just see what comes up, she'd said. What are the odds? I wasn't looking for a sign that my life was on the right path, that the choices I'd made were just fine, and that forward movement often circles back around. I had just followed Sammy, who'd insisted that I bring him here. On this chilly, windy, overcast day, he had insisted that we stay here, at the top of this beach, in this very unlikely spot where I would revisit a childhood memory, then dig up a shovel with my brother's name written on it. Dean, in permanent magic marker. Okay, said Sammy. I'm ready, Pat. Let's go home. It felt like a small miracle. It still does.
That was Pat Spalding telling Just See What Comes Up. Michael Lang sat down with Pat to get some background on that story, and some background on Pat's storytelling career as well. We'll listen to that interview now.
Well, thank you, Pat, for sharing that story with us on Coyote's Corner.
Oh, my pleasure. It was fun.
Now, that's a true story. Do you tell all true stories when you tell stories?
Pretty much now that's all I'm interested in. I had a career in children's theater, puppetry, and I made my living as a performer. So I told a lot of stories that were adaptations of folk tales and traditional tales, and stories that appealed to me that I could mold into some educational value, because I liked working the school market predominantly. Traveled all over the country. It was pretty good living, and worked with my ex. He was a puppeteer too. But when that all changed, when I got like old and done with my career, I didn't want to do any more children's theater. I mean, I loved working with kids.
But you wanted something different.
I wanted something different. And alongside working with kids, I always wrote and told some first-person experience stories. And so I had a little bit of a following for a while, especially, I guess it was the early 80s that I started embarrassing myself with stories about myself.
Right.
This was way before The Moth and
all these things that have kind of made
David Sedaris,
that the personal true stories have become popular tellings now.
Yeah, now
this is kind of before all that.
People recognize what it is.
It's not so weird to be doing it.
No, and it was weird to be doing it back then.
Right.
Because nobody really was. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of did it.
Right.
Yeah.
But along the way, you were also interested in hearing other people's stories too, because you're the MC for True Tales Radio on WSCA.
Right. That happened a couple of years ago, just by coincidence, because I had been, I got divorced and my life kind of changed in a fairly major way in 2006. And right after that, after I went to New Zealand to get as far away from my life as I could and then returned to the same life pretty much, I figured now's the time to do what I always wanted to do. I want to put some stories together that were first-person experience stories and turn them into a show, like a one-woman show. So my first show was We Stayed Together for the Puppets. And that was good. I mean, I got a good reaction. And then my second show was A Bomb in the Closet, which is kind of about growing up in the 50s, 60s.
Sure.
And that, got a good reaction. And then the third show was Dancing with Dad, a Yankee with a samba soul. And that one was the most cathartically raw for me. There was some good stories. I got good reaction, but I felt like I'm not really ready to tell this anymore.
Right.
I did it. It's too close.
Right.
And I was in a writer's group, and I'd been kind of digging away in my past and writing stories and telling stories, and I was sick of my stories. It's like,
right.
I want to live in the present. I want to just see what's happening now, and I want to stop this digging stuff. Funny, that story I told was about digging.
Right.
But,
but then suddenly this other opportunity came along, right?
Right. It was just a coincidence of timing. I saw on the computer the newsletter from, I guess, Good Tidings or something like that from WSCA.
Okay.
And they were starting a new program. And I don't usually read all those newsletters. There's too much to read.
But for some reason.
It was January. I guess it was the beginning of a new year. And I thought, all right.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Right.
Let's see what might fall into place. And they were asking for people who are interested in telling first-person experience stories. It's like, whoa, that's me. So I went to the first one. Yeah, I really loved it because there were other people that were there and telling their stories. And I really liked listening to the other stories. And I liked the whole idea of this radio show happening in our town in Portsmouth, WSCA, local radio. And so John Levering,
the producer of the show,
was the producer, Amy Antonucci, and they had kind of set up a system where one was going to do one thing, one was going to do the other. And I said, is there any way I could help? Because I'd like to be part of this. And they said, well, we might be able to use an MC if you'd like to do that. And I was like, would I? It was perfect because I had some performance experience, and so I know how to be a little bit playful in introducing people.
Right,
and
get people on and off stage.
yeah, and in the process, I am required to talk to people beforehand, get to know a little bit about them, which is great because that's fun.
Right.
And then kind of keep the pace going and just make the show into, in my mind anyways, like one thing.
Right.
One
You get to connect all these different
Exactly.
stories into one show.
Yeah.
And you get to listen to all these stories.
Exactly. And I've learned, I am learning by listening now.
Right.
Listening to the stories of others. And it takes the pressure off me creating my own stories.
Right. It's easier just to listen than
in
than
some
to tell
ways
sometimes.
it's a little bit lazy, but I mean, I think
But
of
it's
it
also
isn't.
good. I agree with you. It is really helpful to hear other people because no two people tell a story the same way, even if they're telling the same story.
Yeah, and I feel like my life has been broadened by it because I'm investing in the stories of others, and I'm getting to know people with different experience.
Because you're also doing story coaching, and you do workshops for True Tales Radio with, with Amy Antonucci.
Yeah. So after we had the storytelling, which is once a month on the last Tuesday of every month, we need to get 6 tellers ahead of time. We need to coordinate it so that we have 6 slots to fill out the hour and the hour plus.
Right.
And we found that it wasn't easy to get that many people to sign up ahead of time. We usually scrabbled them together, but there was some shaking of the bushes. And we realized that a big part of it is because people are intimidated.
Absolutely.
They might like to tell a story, but it takes some guts to just get up there in front of a microphone,
On
talk
live
about
radio.
yourself, without the experience. And we didn't want to just have this be a showcase for storytellers. We wanted people from the community. So Amy came up with the idea that how about if we just have one day a month on the first Tuesday rather than the last Tuesday, where people could come and share a story that they're thinking of or part of a story, get a little feedback. They'll be in front of a microphone that's not on, but they'll
have the experience.
Yeah, they'll have the similar experience, so they'll just get the feel of it and be more comfortable. And that's worked very well. So we're going to continue that.
Yeah, that's cool. And through listening to stories, you said you've learned from listening to other people. What are some of the things that you have learned?
Well, I think I'm pretty particular about crafting my own stories.
Yeah.
And so I write them ahead of time. And I'm trying to get out of that, the idea of writing, memorizing, to more toward the oral tradition of just...
let the story happen as you tell it.
Tell it over and over again, or tell parts of it, but learn it by listening to yourself tell rather than writing it down.
Sure.
I'm married to the word, the written word. That said, I write in a storyteller voice. So by listening to other people tell, I can, my ear picks up when somebody's telling a story without having written it beforehand. There's a liveness about it that I really would like to incorporate in my own storytelling more. That said, I'm still reading tales, but I'm opening up. Listening has just kind of opened me up to understand what I sound like if I'm reading versus if I'm telling. And also, I'm interested, when people tell stories, I feel like there's certain ways that they might have constructed it that I say in my head, it's like, oh, no, you needed to stop there. That, you needed to end there.
Right, you could just end it on that note.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to build here. So I feel like by listening to other people, I've gotten to hone my craft of
because you can then
storytelling.
Put that to your own stories of why did I go on for another sentence or two? It should have ended there.
It's edit. And the more I listen, the more important I realize it is to shorten things and be, length doesn't
It can
add.
be helpful sometimes, but other times you want to shorten. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I guess I'm educating my own ear as well as opening up myself and just learning about other people
and
through their stories and their experience.
Exposing yourself to all these other styles is helpful too.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing. Good point that everybody falls into a certain style.
Right.
And so if you listen to other people, then you think, oh, I kind of like that. Might
Right.
try it a little
Maybe
bit.
I'll try that.
Maybe.
Maybe it'll be a disaster if I try that.
But yeah, so I guess those are some of the things that I have learned and want to keep on learning.
Well, thank you, Pat, so much for coming in and sharing that story with us and for talking a little bit about that story and your storytelling as well.
Well, that's been great for me. This is fun. I like doing more of this.
Well, great. We hope to have you back here sometime.
That was Michael Lang sitting down with Pat Spalding to discuss her story, Just See What Comes Up. If you want to hear more from Pat, check her out at Facebook. Look up Pat Spalding, Spalding, no U. Also check her out at True Tales Radio, hosted at WSCA Portsmouth 106.1 FM, or at True Tales Radio on Facebook. To our audience out there, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and favorite so you never miss a minute of what's going on here. And until next time, this has been Coyote's Corner.